Okay, I'm calling the meeting in order.
Good, 7:10.
You've been watching the conventions.
That's
The
right.
gavels that have those things
Oh
are huge.
boy, huge. Oh, I don't know if you use the
Debbie
gavel.
Wasserman
Okay,
Schultz is
shall
in
we,
Florida. No, sorry.
shall we take,
Is Richard coming?
do we send?
No, Richard wasn't aware. He's on the committee, but he had a prior commitment tonight.
Okay,
4, 5,
yeah, right, I got
And I
his
think-
email.
7.
We should give
I'm
Pat one more.
Yeah, we're reattempting to make contact with Mr.
Okay.
Fraioli, because the last time I talked with him via email, he was interested in being on board, and Jeff knows him.
And he was
Business
interested with me, but I don't know if he's coming tonight. I sent him an email about 2 hours ago.
and I'm not sure he's properly listed in
Yeah, in
the
the
bylaws
group,
email
yeah.
list, so Denise is checking
He
that
might
with
not
our
be in the loop.
crack IT staff.
One present.
So we can give him an excused absence.
Yes,
I'll be his lawyer tonight.
okay.
Yeah, so I don't agree with this. I see what
Okay,
you're, I see your
just
point.
wait a second?
Yeah.
And again, they can be changed at any moment.
Okay, cool.
They could be changed a week from now, 2 weeks from now, tonight. There's
So
no.
let's just
there's
not
no,
approve them, we're fine. We can move on.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't aware you were on the committee.
Excuse me, I don't want anyone speaking unless we're recognized. And
start
if we
yet?
do speak, excuse me, if anyone speaks and they're not being recognized and I warn them, and I warn them again, then I'll be asking them to leave. We want to get in, want to do our business, and want to go. Disruptions doesn't allow us to do that. Okay. Joel, what do we still have to do with in regards to
Just call for an approval.
approval of the minutes?
Move for approval, I'll second.
Okay, move for approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Does anyone object?
No objection.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. We got, okay, so do you want to move on to item 3? Update by the committee chair. I would like to actually let Richard help me on some of the updates because we were kind of working together. Maybe you can better surmise.
Yeah,
But,
we've submitted a variety of questions to Dunn and the city attorney as to various issues, what can be done, what can't be done. You know, clearing up some policy questions that have existed for quite some time. And a lot of it's just housekeeping, but, you know, we have to go to the president one item at a time, and she has to go to Dunn and or the city attorney, and they will get back to us in their own good fullness of time. So we've been doing that, laying the groundwork to explore some of the options that have been discussed previously. And I also have another thing on item 8, but we won't get into that now.
Okay. Great.
so we're waiting to hear back? Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can move on to public comments, item number 4.
I'd like to submit a card. Is that what you'd like me to do, or would you like me to just say, it's fine, no need to fill out the card?
Well, being that you're a board member, you know, I have a problem with you speaking.
I beg your pardon?
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
It's not a problem. It would only be a problem if there were more than
Quorum.
4,
5.
whatever.
Yeah.
If he was the 5th.
Oh,
But
okay.
he can come as a member of the public, which he really is here. My view is he can speak. Sorry.
Okay. Does anybody in the,
I mean,
On the
that's
committee.
been the
Okay.
tradition. There's
Okay.
never been I've never
Okay.
seen anybody
so
stop
Mr. Previn,
somebody.
you are recognized.
Well, thank you, and I would just like to say thank you to the chair for recognizing me today. Yeah, I do have a public comment on non-agenda items, which are items that have not yet appeared on the agenda. And one comment, which is general and related to the committee's jurisdiction.
I'm sorry to
is-
interrupt. You have 2 minutes.
A total of 2 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I can do it, starting now.
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
So, yeah, one question I think we have to go over more carefully is the minutes, because the minutes don't reflect exactly my understanding, and it makes it seem like I didn't have any specifics when I was very specific about some of the recommendations. So I'm happy to go back with the minute taker and provide that information. I think we recorded the meeting. I don't want to be a stickler, but I also don't want to be misrepresented, and it's not personal, and I don't feel that anybody did anything personally. It's just perhaps a slight misunderstanding moving forward. So the issues that I remain focused on in bylaws are the very same issues. One concern is that as a non committee member, I'm happy to speak in public comment, but I don't understand the idea of me not being on the bylaws committee. It seems like the whole system is set up that we want lots of volunteers, we want people on the committees, and I volunteered early to be on this committee. And it seems like instead of being invited to join the committee happily as a member of the community who's done a lot in bylaws, I'm sort of being told, no, we have other people, we have other volunteers, and that does not make me happy, because I want to bring my love to the community. I feel that I can make some improvements. I've talked about the early work that we should be doing now as soon as we've been elected on the voting problems that we had last time, on clarifying that. That's something that takes work. The whole community was ready to do it, but we're not doing it, and we should be. And then the other thing is the idea that someone like you is appointed as a committee chair, Mr. Izbicki, but then you treat me, a very well-regarded member of the committee who got elected also by a lot of votes, as if I should not be on the committee, as if I'm constantly disruptive and problematic, which is a misstatement, because in fact I just don't like so many confusing small committee meetings. I prefer big board meetings where everybody hears what everybody else thinks, and then little agendas don't get sort of snuck around by groups, which I'm happy to be a part of, by the way. I'd like to be a part of this group, but that's my comment for now, and we can move forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I guess we have no more public comments.
On non-agenda items.
Let's see, we can go to 5, responses of public comments by committee members. Does anyone have
I've got nothing.
Nope.
any comments?
No, sir.
I'm okay.
Number 6.
Number 6 we got here, discussion and possible motion of editing Bylaws Article II, Section 3, second paragraph to read, after establishment of a quorum, the board may approve any official action by simple majority vote by the board members present.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we correct this motion to read, I believe it's Article 5.
Article 5.
Article 5,
Five.
Section 2, Paragraph 2.
Okay.
That was an inadvertent typo. And we were going to release a special agenda on it, but we were informed by the experienced members that all we have to do is make a friendly amendment.
Not a material.
Not a material, right, of course. Article 5, was that done in a Roman numeral by chance?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
so
Roman
that's
numerals.
easily, okay.
you.
Section 2.
That's how it happened, probably.
Right,
Somebody
right,
saw the
two.
2 and they thought it was
Exactly.
the 5.
Actually, I looked at the 2 and went
Excuse
to
me.
2 and it was the wrong thing.
Mr. Previn, I am going to ask, please, don't interrupt. We're having a discussion.
Okay, I'd like to make a public comment on this item.
Okay, so, yeah, when we're having a discussion and there's an interruption and we lose our train of thought, I consider that to be material.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I didn't check. What's the difference between the way it reads now? Is it
We
simple?
eliminated a comma in the last couple words that said excluding absentations. I think it's, you've got the
Let me
exact
get-
verbiage.
Not including abstentions. Now, the problem with that verbiage is that it tends to make people think that you do not include the abstainers. Anytime that you put in something like that, you never account abstentions. But when you put words like this in, it sounds like you should also take the abstainers out of the mix.
Right.
And it was explained to us by Melvin at the last meeting that that's not the case, that they do not count
They
that
count
way.
as part of the members present.
Correct. They, well, not even the quorum, the group, the body.
The total
Right.
majority is
Total number.
deducted
Right.
from.
Right, so that's very misleading and.
Yes, it is. It is. Confusing.
I'd
Too
like-
confusing.
I'd like
Did you
to-
see my math problem, by the
I
way?
did. I
Okay.
brought your math problem.
Great.
As I said, you're not
I
probably
worked on it, I
back.
studied it,
math.
I even made a circle out of it. Let's see, I've got,
I was told there'd be no math.
I know, right?
What's that?
Could I see
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, it was just
math
very,
problem?
very
Oh,
simply
just
that.
different examples of what it would be if an abstention was included as, if abstainers were included in the count of the total vote as opposed to not being included. So that it's just
And with this this is like the plain meaning rule in the statutory construction. I'm assuming what we mean is just this. If you've got 13 people present, you need 7.
Correct.
And that's it.
Simple
And it
majority.
doesn't
Is that
matter, if 6 people abstain, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
They're still counted in the
Still
13.
counted in the
Correct.
group.
If 7 people abstain, it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
It
or
can't,
if
Correct,
or
you
if
still
you
need
have-
that majority.
it
if you
can't
have-
be
if you have
approved
6
by
You
a
need a majority
majority.
of-
Yeah, if you have
Yes.
6, 5, and 2 abstain.
But they count for the number of total votes.
Yes, that's
So
my
they
point.
actually
Yes.
detract from anything trying to be passed.
Yes, they do. But they don't affect the majority of those present.
The majority
No,
still,
no,
yeah, the majority
no.
still needs to be the
The
same number.
majority is consistent. Okay, here, this I
Good,
guess I was going to
beautiful.
bring up.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to bring up. Basically, 2 things I wanted to ask, because I know a few of you are pretty well read in Robert's rules and whatnot. I was reading a few things in regards to the spirit of abstentions and how abstentions were deemed as far as creating public policy. There are some rulings that state that abstentions are actually a wasted vote and therefore should not be rewarded, but rather in the good of the whole penalized, in the sense that if you're just abstaining, you should not be counted in the total amount of votes that would be needed to pass a rule.
Abstainers.
Abstainers, it's like there are anti-abstainer movements out there, and there's case law to support that.
And I can tell you, having been a board member and having done some abstentions, it infuriated a couple of people whose names will not be mentioned here. You can imagine who they were. And I had every reason to abstain, and I had every right to abstain. And I was
Right.
criticized from the floor by people. They called me, all sorts of names.
So
But-
I guess what I was trying to set up is 2 sides of it. I'm not saying one or the other. I'm saying, and then there's the other school that states that, again, like you stated, Jeff, abstentions could have basis in not being informed properly, having a conflict of interest, almost like to a point of a recusal. My point being is that what are we trying to establish here? Because on some of these, is there a term called absolute majority
Alex,
and
maybe I can clear
nominal
this up.
majority? Yes.
We don't have a choice based on what
What
Dunn
Melvin
had told
said.
us, what
Okay.
Melvin said,
Okay.
that abstentions are just like any other thing, they count towards the majority. The majority. So if you
Okay,
abstain,
we don't have to-
it's
so we don't have to
basically,
reword-
depending on how the vote goes, you still, if there's 10 people that show up and 5 people abstain, nothing's gonna pass because there's only 5 people that are
Right.
gonna vote
Right,
yes
exactly.
or
Right,
no,
it'll
so
never
nothing's
pass.
gonna
You
happen.
can never get a majority.
Correct. Versus if you didn't count the abstainers, you take those out of the mix. You now are only counting 5 people as total votes. Therefore,
Right.
you only need 3
3
people
votes
to pass
out of 10 people.
or
human
not
beings.
pass
Yeah.
something. So that's how it works.
Hold on.
I would like to. Okay, so 2 things that
Yes.
that I worked on section 2 and 3 that are wonky. If you look at section 2, quorum, it doesn't tell you what a quorum is right off the bat, which is bad. No official action of the board shall be taken in absence of a quorum. That doesn't tell us what a quorum is. So what I want to do is pass this out in just a second, and it clears it up because it first defines the quorum and then talks also about an official action is really a wonky thing to have to go, official action is a motion is official action. I'm saying basically screw it, let's make it much easier for people that want this information to read it. So I cobbled this together. I'll give you a copy, Mr. Previn. Again, it's not changing anything. It's not changing the spirit of this. It's still exactly what this says. It's just not redundant now. So this would combine 2 and 3. And again, it's just cleaning up the verbiage.
When you say
It's
2
very
and 3, are you
redundant.
referring to sections?
Section quorum, and then they have to define official action because they talk about official action. And to me, that is wonky. It is not, you don't have to have that in bylaws, and I think it makes it more confusing. I'm also pitching to consider to put this section under meetings instead of under board members, because that is traditionally where you talk about a quorum is under meetings. It has nothing to do with board members, it has to do with meetings.
Right.
Chair?
Yes.
I think this rewriting, while possibly very well brought forth, is materially vastly different than what we agendized. Correcting a typo to get to the right section, we had the right verbiage is one thing.
Right.
Rewriting or eliminating, condensing whatever several sections would be
Yeah.
way beyond whatever
No,
we told
Well, wait a
public we're
minute.
gonna do here tonight.
Discussion and possible motion on editing bylaw, which should have been
V.
section V.
Section 3, but now
Right.
you're dragging 2 in and rewriting all of 2 and 3 when we were just editing one sentence, one paragraph.
And what paragraph were you editing exactly?
Let me see. the-
Just taking out the not
That's
including
fine.
Yeah,
abstention?
just a comma and the not including abstentions.
Okay.
So while this would be an excellent item for
Yep.
next month, I'm not sure it's within the spirit of transparency and openness to the public to undertake a major
Well,
rewrite.
why don't we discuss it, why don't we put it at the tail end, have this discussion, and then we could possibly reintroduce it next.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, we
Well,
don't even,
I will-
we don't even need to pass this change tonight.
Nope.
Right.
We're just
talking.
discussing it.
We're
So
just talking
if-
about
if
it.
the consensus of the members present is that this discussion should be rolled over to next month to include the larger
Yeah.
piece.
Here's my
then
only
we-
discussion on this, and is that because it is not changing the spirit of anything.
Understood.
Okay.
I wasn't going there. I'm just saying this is a larger change than what we told the public we'd be discussing, and I think it would be wildly inappropriate
Right.
for us to go there.
Okay,
So
I-
basically,
Tonight.
Gotcha.
But
I
you're,
don't
you're
necessarily
basically
agree.
saying that Joel's basically providing clarity and
And-
not actually, and in fact, reconfirming what Melvin and Dunn had
Yeah,
brought forward.
as was my change, but my
Right,
change
right.
was very minor as
Yeah.
opposed to, and I would also think, and I'd have to go back and look through the whole thing, this is not a thing to do tonight, but I believe quorum is defined someplace else in the bylaws, if not the operating procedures.
You mean
But
it's
once again, I,
defined?
It's right here.
Or-
It's the only section.
okay,
And it's
well, as I
under-
said, I don't have these memorized yet.
So
Yeah.
quorum is not defined.
Well,
In our-
quorum is defined, I think it's defined either in the bylaws or.
It's right here, eight board members who are authorized to vote is a
Right.
quorum.
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay,
So if
now-
we, and consolidating and clarifying these bylaws is an idea that has been floated many times in the past, as Jeff can confirm. And it hasn't always been received with great enthusiasm because confusion worked to certain people's interest.
No, I understand that. Let's not.
Yeah,
let's
we're not
get
going
off
there,
to
but I'm
that.
just saying.
Let me just speak about, let me speak real quickly to kind of wrap this up, and then we can move it to the, I'm sorry?
No, I was just coughing. I had a little hiccup.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do, because we're bringing up some questions, forget putting anything in the form of a motion of anything we're going to change, but let's talk about, if we could, just discuss for a moment. We're talking about the simple majorities and then the 2/3 vote. If those that are if those are present and people leave, for example, during a meeting, meaning what I want to do is continue what Melvin was saying, and let's just come full circle, because all Melvin had was 2 minutes to speak. He spoke, and he's not the most clear person. Maybe, Joel, if you wouldn't mind, could we kind of just come full circle as to what exactly an abstention, the implication of an abstention, an implication of a board meeting that has several members that leave, what implications there? Could we just get it down
Sure.
to layman's terms, and so we get a kind of an understanding quickly, so I kind of have some clarity
Sure.
on
If
that.
somebody leaves, obviously that's different than an abstention. In a meeting, if people leave and don't come back, and it trickles down to the point of no quorum, you can't have motions. You can't do
Right,
business.
let's say 9 people are left, 6 people had to leave.
Well, let's start out with the number. How many? Should we use our board as an
Yes,
example?
let's use our
15
board.
people.
14 voters,
14 voters.
assuming the youth member is not, and that's.
Is it 14 people and 15 is the
15
youth voter?
Well, there's
Okay.
15, the youth voter currently can vote
mean-
when they turn 18, but while they're still in office.
Right.
One of the questions that was sent downtown, and this is something that I should have mentioned earlier, is they're consulting with Dunn and the city attorney as to whether or not the youth member can vote at any age except on financial items.
Okay, well, as long as it's not right now an issue.
Yeah, no, but that would
let's
once
not-
again
let's not
be
move
for-
on.
For
that'd be
sake of
No, I
argument,
understand. Yes.
there's only 14 authorized voters for
Yes.
our little group. So therefore, you'd need 8 people, not only for a quorum, but you'd need 8 as a simple majority
pass.
if all of them
To
showed
pass,
up.
right.
Okay, so let's say there's 14 people. So if 9 leave, you no longer have a quorum.
Right,
But if 4 people leave,
If
What
four
if 4
people
people
leave, you have 10 people, you have a quorum, you conduct business, but now you only
6.
need 6 people
Got it.
to pass a motion.
so again, that might turn
if
with
they
absolute
leave.
majority,
Makes
See,
it
I wish
easier.
there was a term that you could say fluid majority.
It's in the book. It's called
Okay.
simple majority.
Simple.
Okay.
Simple majority. That's what
Got
it's
it.
called, which means over half.
An absolute majority means?
It's
There-
a
It's a
redundant
symbol.
term.
It's a redundant term.
Yes,
Majority's
there's-
majority.
a majority's
Okay.
a majority. And you have to round it up because you can't have 10 and a half people, 11 and a half
Right. Always
people, and
round
so
up.
forth.
Got it.
You have to
Okay.
round up to the next person. So if you have 10, it's 6. If you have 11, it's 6.
Right.
Right.
There's 12
Can
and
I
seven.
add one thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Richard had his hand up first.
Yeah, I want to make one real quick comment about absentation. So one thing we definitely don't want to do as a board, as a bylaws committee or the board, is to be like downtown where the councilmen can abstain and it's counted as a yes.
No, we won't do that.
No.
Well, as explained again from Dunn, and I went back and looked up this, and I looked up some other stuff online, is that, again, having that verbiage is confusing, versus if you don't have that verbiage, then if it's not in the bylaws, it defaults to Roberts, which is you don't count an abstention. So you have this many yes, this many no, and this many nothing, but still you have to have, if 14 people, you still have to have 8 votes to pass. So if you do the maths, let's say, let's say 6 vote yes, right? And 2 vote no, and 4 abstain, it's not going to pass because you don't get 8, okay? If you have enough people, you can have 10 people abstain. You can have, you still have to have 8 yes votes to pass,
Yep.
no matter what.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody else could abstain. 7 people, up to 7 people
Right.
could abstain. It basically goes to a no vote.
So abstentions basically just dilute the.
Well, no, they just,
Here's the thing. Abstentions make it harder to pass things.
Yes.
But people leaving, and we've seen this over the years, I've seen it
Makes
many
it
times.
easier.
It's bad news.
It makes
I've
it
seen
easier.
people leave the meeting, wait till the vote was taken, come back in. And I won't even go into that, but it's
Jeez.
happened.
Yeah,
It
and I
makes
see-
it hard, it makes it easier to pass
To pass
something
when people
if somebody
leave.
leaves.
Absolutely.
So when these guys walk out and then they come back
Yeah,
in,
of course.
it's, what are you gonna do? But
And I-
it's happened, it used to happen.
certain
And you
areas, I
can't
see-
legislate behavior.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
And I see abstaining in a lot of cases as being none of the above. And I will admit here
Yeah.
in public that in the past I have grumbled at people who abstain, but I've evolved on the issue.
But what is a leaving unofficially called? Just absent?
Well, if you're not present, and I've been at meetings where somebody comes in and Rita would go, so and so is now here for the minutes. The quorum is now. Or somebody would leave.
The other trick is, and this happened at a very important meeting when I was first on the board, when a very dramatic action was taken, which I still think was wrong.
All right.
But, and I think we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A guy just happened, it was just, I'm sure it was coincidence. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But as soon as the vote was taken to do what they did, within 3 minutes, just so happened that this guy walked in. And they said, oh, now Mr. X is now here, the quorum, the vote now goes up, you see, because now there were more people.
Right.
So without him being there, it made it much easier to
Yeah.
pass this dramatic action. And then just happened to be
What do
that
you
2
guys
minutes
think
late.
about that?
Well, what are you going to do?
You can't
There's
let-
no way to prove anything.
Yeah.
But
can't
even if
legislate
they
That's
do
the
it,
sort of thing you vote out.
and
next
even
time.
if they do it, it's not. There's nothing illegal. It's politics.
No, it is
This is
politics.
a political body.
So I move
People
we
forget
table
that.
this motion or this agenda item until next month. and
Could you change that to postpone?
Postpone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if you table it, then you gotta move to take it off the table. And there's some things, the verbiage.
Can I ask you a question on that? Is that in the House, when they say we lay it on the table, and then some guy lays it on the table, and then you need a motion to get it back off the
That
table?
is correct, and it's usually a way to permanently postpone something they don't want to deal with.
Right.
Otherwise, if it really truly is a postponement, you say postpone.
Okay, but it's next month the agenda item is going to read entirely different anyway.
Beautiful.
And we'll add also some clarity.
So, move to
Postpone.
postpone the motion.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Postpone
All right.
the.
At this rate, we'll be done with bylaws by 2022.
Well,
Well, it's not like you have anything else in your life to do.
Sure.
Right. There was a time when this committee went months without meeting. 6, 7 months. You know, just
Well, hopefully we'll start to
And then they'd have
bring
meetings
forth
for hours and hours on end.
more and more as the wheels start rolling.
So, let me
Big
pitch you
improvement.
this, that you put this as a template then in the next agenda
Did
to
you
talk
email it
to me?
about? Yeah,
got it.
I'll email it to Rich.
Yeah,
and-
okay.
Okay, so then we can talk about this specifically. I will say this, though, that because we are not changing it, and we are just rewording it, just to get something rolling with this committee, that I, and I'm not gonna say to do it, I consider changes along the way to at least look like we're doing something in helping to clean up stuff. And again, we're not changing it as what Eric was pitching about, like major changes, and we had talked elections, major things. This is
Yeah.
just cleanup.
It's
Yeah.
housekeeping.
It's housekeeping, thank you. So, in the future, I would say that the committee would want to take on some of these things, even if they might not be exactly.
Yeah, is this really a
in
change
the
or is it just
bylaws.
clarity?
This is total clarity. Again, I don't want to bring it back up
Yeah.
around, but just think on
I
that.
mean-
This is housekeeping, it's kind of BS in the
No,
big
it's
picture.
important. It's like in the healthcare world, the housekeeping people is probably the single most important people in the hospital, and yet they're treated the worst.
Article, let me just write that down. V, et cetera. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, you know what we'll do is why don't you wait for number 7,
Mr.
and
Chair,
then we can have a discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
yeah. What happened to my comment on the item number 6 about changing the language that you just voted on? I think you're supposed to hear from the public before or
We didn't vote
during
on anything.
consideration. Didn't you just vote?
Nope.
We didn't vote.
All we did was,
Okay, well,
We're
do you
voting
want
to,
can I comment on it? I
to-
waited quietly and
hold on,
listened to that
hold
whole
on
thing.
one second,
and then we
please.
started
Let me
to move
clarify.
forward. Sure.
We are going to postpone item 6,
Right.
so there's really nothing to discuss until we bring it up next month.
No, but I'm entitled to give a comment.
Well, there's nothing to comment on, so I don't know what.
You're talking about removing the not including abstentions language?
Yeah, we're gonna bring it up next month,
Right.
so we can.
Well, it was an interesting conversation, and I'd like to give my 2 minutes on it, because I'm interested in the subject. And I was the victim of that situation where Rita Villa, Lisa Sarkin, Judy Price, a bunch of assembled, stood up and said that they felt that I had been properly elected secretary by a vote of 7. They interpreted it, and they're the people who wrote
Well,
these
they
bylaws.
interpreted
Let me
not
finish,
like,
sir.
like,
Sir,
excuse
I'm
me,
sorry.
you haven't been recognized.
You did-
excuse me.
Well, are you going to recognize me or not?
You know what, hold on a second, What's been stated here already has been very clear. What Dunn has represented as what stands, irrespective of anybody's opinion or stories. We really don't have time right now to go over that. I heard what you said, but you're basically telling me what we've already discussed. We've already discussed how Dunn has interpreted abstentions, and
I heard you all. I'd like to give a comment for 2 minutes, and then you can move
Well,
forward. You're
I
talking
don't-
longer than you're giving me any time to speak.
excuse me, it is not your prerogative to be able to talk. We are having a discussion, and you're here to observe. So I don't want to have any more interruptions. We want to get through this, and
Interruptions? Who do you think you're speaking to?
I want to warn you one more time, Eric.
I'd like to be recognized on this item 6.
Excuse me. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you could speak to exactly what we were talking to, I will recognize you. Go ahead, you have 2 minutes to speak.
Okay, as I was saying, the language is confusing. I don't know that the interpretation, I'm not trying to overturn the interpretation. We discussed that at the meeting. I don't think Joel or Mr. Carter were there, but the other guys were. And the confusion remains for me, is the truth, that in my view, 7 is a simple majority of 12 people who have opted to vote. If we just examine what you talked about, you guys went around the horn on it a number of times, but we should we should have a discussion with what the board thinks, because the board does not have to agree to do exactly what Dunn says. The board may decide to define its bylaws the way the board sees fit. I mean, if it's true that we are always going to do exactly what Dunn says, then it raises some serious questions about why for a year and a half trying to get elected, we heard about how we can't touch the bylaws because it's the Studio City Neighborhood Council who has entire jurisdiction, and Gracie Lou threw her hands up in the air. So in terms of this particular interpretation and that language coming out, I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. But I don't think that the new language that was submitted, because it was added to this item, fits perfectly, and it should be, as you say, not tabled, but rather continued for further discussion, because the spirit of cleaning up is a good one, and Lord knows there could be some cleaning up. So thank you for your interest in local government.
Thank you. Anyone have any other comments? Joel, anybody?
I don't know what the deal was, to be honest, with that whole thing. I think Eric may have some strong points about whether or not what happened and the reversal of how Dunn handles abstentions. I do think that they play a little loose and fast with what they are doing. I don't really have an answer other than, I think they change stuff around. I would wonder, and it's a simple yes or no, if I could get one from Eric. Did you want to be secretary, or is it just a bigger picture of how it's
I'm certainly happy to answer that question. It has nothing to do with what we're discussing, but I'm happy to
No, I'm
answer.
just...
Sure. My volunteering to be, you're giving me leave to do this, it's off point, but I'm happy to address it, sure. My volunteering to be secretary was made with my eyes wide open, and I was fully intent on assuming that role when I made that proposition. And then the fact that I'm not secretary today took place, you weren't there, but there was a decrescendo where it was so strange because,
Okay.
Oh, you don't want to hear any more about
Well,
this?
just...
Okay, fair. I don't want to...
I kinda wanted to-
Yes, I'm happy to, we could do that
Okay.
offline.
Okay,
Happy to do it
please.
offline.
I guess my thing is
Yes,
that
is the answer.
I
Okay.
want to kind of
Thank
keep
you.
the scope, and this isn't really referring to what Mr. Previn
Right.
said.
Let's go back to the agenda.
As far as what Dunn has, we have to focus on being as effective as possible, countering what those entities that govern us, if they have a right to do that or not, I think takes us to another scope and another battlefield. Which, if we're gonna fight a battle like that, might take us off the ball to do other things that I think are just as probably more pressing. So while I do appreciate what you brought up and what your contention, if somebody else would like to handle that outside our immediate goals and what our constituency has been encouraging us to do, which is start working on these bylaws. I believe working within the framework that Dunn has drafted for us and is encouraging us to follow is going to be the simplest way for now to do as much as we can, and then possibly take on conflicts that someone might feel that there may exist between what they feel is an abstention and what we feel an abstention indicates. So please, in the sense, we're just trying to get as much done as we can, be as effectual as we can. So I hope you understand. That's of course I'm concerned with what's being brought up, but there could be 4 billion things that we could be concerned about that might not be as just as possible. Anyways, I yield to Richard. Do you have something to say, Richard?
I was just going to say, I suggest we move forward.
Okay.
Item 7, item 8.
But I just
Jeff has to go at 8. I have
Okay.
things to do this evening. We all have
I
lives.
think that was well put, Alex. I think that some of the issues raised here tonight are bigger than what this committee should be focusing on. I think we should focus on cleaning up the bylaws, things that we actually can do. These other bigger fights with Dunn is beyond the scope of what I think we can really get accomplished.
Yeah, for the record, who's fighting Dunn? I mean, I thought Dunn sent you a letter. Mel said we should change the language if we
Whatever
wanted
Dunn
to
has
reflect
stated that
something,
they
right.
have to do, and I'm going to just answer you, and then we're going to move on. Whatever Dunn has stated is according to me, and I'm not going to counter that. If somebody else feels they have to, they don't have to do it within the scope of the bylaws.
No.
go have a good time and
That's
go
a
do
political
it.
issue to be solved in the
Absolutely.
political arena. It's, you know,
I think we
Okay.
should attach Melvin's letter to this item, so that we can understand that he was not
Okay, now
saying
we
do
have
it.
to move on.
He was saying if you want to do
Excuse
something,
me.
you could do
Mr. Brown, we have
this.
to move on.
But you're
We
not
have to
being
move
clear,
on.
so I want you to be clear.
Okay.
If you want.
Let's see. Number 8, item 8, update regarding scheduling additional special meetings, so we can have some stakeholder input. As you can see here, and I'll yield to Mr. Adams in a couple seconds. We are trying to encourage as much participation as possible. Thankfully, we do have a stakeholder here / board member. Hopefully, we can get more, so we can get more ideas vis-a-vis presence at our meetings and emails. Pigeon mail, whatever works, we're open to it. Now, Richard, maybe you have some ideas as to how we can have. I personally, let me just start by saying, I personally do want to have the place where you don't have to give ID, you don't have to. But my question is going to be: our other committees are utilizing the same infrastructure here? They are still able to be effectually in outreach. I would like to focus, rather than finding different places to go to, like a church or whatever that may be easier for people to come to, which I don't really quite understand how that could be, focus more on the meat and potatoes of what we have to do. I'd hate to utilize our physical assets to do things which I think is a good way to say, look, we did it, we tried to do it, and someone did or didn't respond. But that's just my contention. I don't want to bend over backwards. If it is still, if there's no real reasoning that I can see that we are that any group, any committee, including ours, is actually hindering participation by our community, to go out and start looking for donut inns and whatever to have public places. You could do it if you'd like. I would love to have us at the front lines, though, here working on these. That's just my idea. Please, sir, if you should.
alrighty.
I yield.
This is not an ongoing program to have all of our meetings anywhere but CBS. The idea is, and this is based on a lot of feedback from a lot of people over the years, it's a pain to get to CBS on any day, and the new and improved security rules make it worse. Weeknight, work nights, 7 o'clock meetings, 8 o'clock meetings, whatever. People have children, they have lives, they have long commutes, etc., and regular schedules. And the idea is to have because there was so much outcry in real life and online and everywhere else about all the problems with the bylaws, the idea is to go out just a couple times into the public where they can get to us on a regular day with plenty of advance notice, and we see who shows up with specific ideas, with specific issues they want addressed, etc. This is not an ongoing thing. I'm working with Alex Beaucharts, our outreach guy, to come up with a outreach program process to include whichever, if we find a church that will let us have a meeting. I've gotten back from one church, and right now they're talking $950. And I haven't had a chance to get, but it's one of the local movie shoot places. And that's one of the questions that's up to been sent out to Dunn, is whether or not the board can even spend money on something like that. So we're not looking to do that. But at the same time, we are trying this is to try to address the public's perception that our bylaws need fixing. We're trying to give them a short frame, and the outreach will not only include special meetings, assuming we can find a respectable place to get that and get a quorum of the committee there on a particular day, but to see whether or not we can get people to send in. Okay, I still can't make a Saturday meeting. Great, send us.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Yes, it's a multi-pronged approach through utilizing outreach. They're not going to do all the work, but he will advise me, and we will. You will approve whatever it is we do, because you're chair.
Okay.
And of course, the president has to approve it.
Okay. So
that's what we're looking at doing. Is addressing. It's a multi-pronged approach to address the public's enunciated concerns.
I think one thing that might help at the next board meeting is if you can announce, and maybe if you want to write up a paragraph and we could help cobble it together, about how amending bylaws works, and again to state that the bylaws committee doesn't just come up with stuff, that people can come up with a change, and that there, right in the bylaws, there's an avenue for people to submit new bylaws if they're not happy. People really don't understand that, I think. And I don't think even the board members understand
Yeah,
that.
no, I
would
see that.
challenge most of the board members have not read the bylaws
Right.
or understand that, like, the bylaws committee is not the enforcement committee.
No.
It's, we
draft.
should be doing stuff like this. This is
Yes.
what we should be doing as a committee.
Right,
You know,
right.
cleaning them up, making them rewrite.
We
The
only
bigger issues
create
need
vis-a-vis
more.
the public and the board,
Yeah, I
obviously.
mean,
The bylaws
anytime we
committee
can do-
traditionally, oh, sorry, the
Sorry.
bylaws committee
Sorry.
traditionally
Well-
only acts
We,
when either the board or the public has, or the board at the public's behest decides there's a problem,
Of course.
or if done, directs us that we have to change X, Y, Z because city policy.
okay.
Right, and then
Let's,
it's.
yeah, so, sorry, Joel, do you wanna finish?
No, I was just saying, I mean, it might be worth a
Yeah,
couple
I
of
was thinking
sentences to the,
And also
as
letting them
part of
know
your report.
if they'd like to get a copy of the, if they'd like to get a copy of the bylaws, I could send them an email of an attachment, where they can
We can do
review
all-
them and get to know them.
We can
They're
do all
so
this through
sloppy.
outreach.
Richard, just one second.
Hold on.
They are just sloppy enough that they're kind of hard to read, and bylaws
Okay.
should not be hard to read.
Right.
I mean, that's why a lot of people don't look at them, because, I mean, just look at these two sentences. A quorum,
Okay.
I want to know how much a quorum is. I
Right,
don't need
of
all
course,
the verbiage.
of
So,
course.
so that's where I think that this committee could have some real impact, is to just
Well,
clean up.
Then maybe we could individually go through the bylaws, and like what you just done here, maybe introduce, some clarity, and then we can move towards actually doing fundamental, adjustments and changes. Does anyone feel there's an order that we need to approach this, because it is a lot, it's a big potato.
Well, we had talked about priorities, and some of them are so huge in scope, honestly, like coming up with the paradigm of the new voters. And I think that it's going to be, however it lays down, I know, Eric, you keep thinking that it's easy, and you've had, I think last meeting you had said kind of a simple thing, but I think that there's going to be so much pushback in whichever way you do that area, that I think when either this committee or the board what says we're going to tackle this, I think you need a lot more input, so that you have a lot more people agreeing on how it should shake down.
Yeah, Jeff, anything?
No, I agree. I mean, this was what I tried to do. It's difficult to get people to do it, to go through them and make suggestions and even commas, whatever it is. But I think that should be our bare bones basic thing that we're doing, is to do that final review of everything and then get that done and then move on to bigger stuff. But it starts with like what you have here.
Could we then maybe it might be a good idea to like start sectionalizing our progress, maybe lay it out as the work,
chapter
maybe
one and
have
work our way
goals. Well, maybe like the clarity aspect of it, where we're actually not changing any fundamental rules, but just making them more
Right.
clearly,
Right.
should probably be the first pass through on this.
I agree.
And then we can kind of move more towards some real changes that people can actually understand what a
Well, they
change
might
will
be
mean.
able to see them
Yes,
if
exactly.
we take out some of the noise.
But yeah, I agree. Right.
Okay, yes.
A lot of what you want to do, we're back to outreach, getting people to find out where they are, what they are, why they're important, and that's one of the things I want to do.
Well,
But
the people won't be able to. It's going to be a seasoned professionals that are going to bring clarity. The public will receive clarity. The public will not bring forth clarity, because again, they don't understand what this
There's a lot of
means.
lawyers in this town.
True, but
And
we
that's what
have.
we don't want.
Well, no, and that's
Right.
one of the reasons, one of the
Right,
problems
that brings
that we
the noise.
currently have is on some of the older bylaws committees, you had a lot of people who thought they were really good with the English language. Unfortunately, they traditionally only let them into suicide charges.
Yeah, I know, but-
And they like to put 20 words when you could do it with 5.
Okay, well, but okay, so we're on a path though. Let's
Yeah.
kind of stay on it. I'd like to have an idea from you gentlemen to know. Let's lay out a goal timeline, maybe in the next 2 weeks, that we can maybe at least have a loose progress of where we want to get to, And like this, how hard was this for you to find? I mean, it stared right at you.
Oh, looking at this, I went, well, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I just, you
But
know,
I wonder how much more of this doesn't make any sense.
Could I make a suggestion?
there's a good
Hold on
amount.
1 second, please.
There's
Well,
a
it
good amount.
addresses your issue.
Okay, but specifically, because you guys,
It's a
comments
plan.
have to, I don't want to hear stories.
No, this
We
isn't
don't
a
have
story.
time for stories.
No, it's real simple because we have
Let me
5
just
minutes
do
left.
this. Okay. Richard, you're.
Real simple. Why don't we as a committee commit to 1 or 2 articles of the bylaws a month? 1 a week might be too much for those of you that have real jobs and stuff. But if we as a committee go through one article of the bylaws every week, every 2 weeks, starting with the first one, or if it's really small, 2 or 3 little ones, and we each come up with how we think this could be made clearer. And then we schedule it on the agenda, you know, we're going to review Articles 1 and 2, and everybody brings their ideas to the meeting.
Okay, so basically, how do we communicate with one another? Just
How
basically,
many articles are there?
We have,
There's a lot, right?
yeah,
15 or
I
16.
think there's a
What if we go through what's the
14.
next largest,
Yeah, but some of them are really small
some
articles.
are really small?
So,
Maybe we can just circulate once a week an article. I mean, that's or 2 articles.
well, no,
if they're
because
really
then we're getting into a surreal meeting. So it's, you know, you as president can say, hey, we're going to do this one. And then everybody bring their ideas to the meeting. Or they can all submit them.
We can't do it every month. I mean, that's going to be too slow.
yeah.
Well, then we're back to how many articles a month, because some of them are small. You could go through a couple of them in 1 2-week period.
Why don't we let the chairman pick the number of the
After
specific
discussion of
articles?
a review of all of us in 1 week, I'd like to find out what your opinions are. The most
Well, how long are the first 3 articles? How many pages? Give or take.
6 pages, 5 articles.
Yeah, a couple of them are long-winded, and some others are very, very
4 or
short.
5. 5 will take us to the. No, I'm sorry.
And I don't think you can talk too much about boundaries or boundaries, so
Yeah.
Article 3 is not really gonna change.
Right. How about if we give each other a week to kind of do a nice pass through
Okay,
and give a
the
priority
next-
list
yeah,
afterwards?
in 1 week, everybody emails you
A
a
priority
priority
list.
list of which articles in
Yes.
the
Doesn't
city.
have to be
Good,
sequential.
That's good.
Just cloudy
Yes.
to least cloudy.
Right, good,
We-
okay.
You know, is that okay, Joel? About a
Let
week?
me, 1 week, we're gonna email Alex, the chair,
Yay, I like this.
the chair,
And then you issue the priority list and the timeline.
And
In other
maybe-
words, we tell you which articles we think we should do first.
Yeah, the most obtuse,
Okay.
cloudy, ambiguous.
Good.
and
to the
again, it's, I
least.
think the goal again is not to change it.
No,
it's to
no,
Yeah,
clarify.
and at this point in time, I would suggest that we,
And then wait 1 second. That way, of course, you know, I'm just finishing it to the end.
Yeah.
Then our constituency knows what doesn't feel right and what does feel right, because they can understand what the heck they're reading.
Good.
Okay, I'm sorry, you were saying, Richard?
well, I was gonna say, what the hell was I going? Might want to consider, although it is bizarre, the seat definitions. Because,
let's
no,
not-
yeah,
Yeah,
let's,
that's-
yeah, I was gonna say, no, I was
Then
gonna
no
say,
meat and
let's
potatoes.
not include
Oh,
that
oh,
in the
right.
list.
Yeah,
that's-
no,
No seat,
we'll kind of
yes.
know that.
That's the third rail.
Yeah. That's gonna
Truly.
be, yeah. And also, if we can get Patrick's legal mind involved, that would be awesome.
I hope so.
To do a pass through.
agenda,
Good.
records.
Okay, wow, this is
Beautiful.
excellent.
Good.
Same thing.
So that'd be next Tuesday, we should send that to you.
Yes, by
Okay.
next Tuesday, it could be earlier, I'll do a
Good.
pass through and stuff.
Okay.
Let's see what we have. We really don't have a place here for,
Mr. Chair,
you know what, Mr. Previn, I don't know what to say.
I'm a member of the public. I'd like to make a comment on this subject. It started about
Hold on one moment, please.
soliciting stakeholder
We
input.
didn't put it in the ticket.
Yeah, we don't have any,
Why did you have to put
I have
that
no
in?
agenda,
I said, would you want me to put it cards?
Yeah,
I want to
please.
speak on the item.
but,
Okay, so provide me a card. Wow, I'm happy to. I mean, really, guys.
I move to adjourn.
It's unnecessary. I just want to, okay, you know what?
Okay,
Let's
I'll
adjourn the
tell you
meeting.
what.
If he wants to adjourn it,
Hold
so
on,
adjourn
hold
me,
on,
I'll
hold
make
on.
my speech and I'll go. But I'm
Excuse
going to
me.
make a speech.
excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah, if you leave it for the end, I'll recognize you.
No, it's not a deal. You're going to adjourn the meeting or not?
Well,
Nobody second, nobody voted.
Nobody voted.
Go
discussed
for
it.
it. Do whatever you want.
please, no more interruptions.
No.
Okay. Let's see, we're
You
going.
could do it under 9, right?
I'd like a speaker card.
Yeah,
Additional special
Excuse me.
meetings. Okay, and we're at 9.
yeah, let's see. Okay, item number 9. So So, do any of the members want to amend what they, I think we kind of like merged into 9 a little bit, didn't we?
Yes,
As far as our macro plan.
yes.
So yes, I'd like to recognize Mr. Previn. You have 2 minutes. I'd like to recognize you to comment on item 9.
I'm not commenting on them, I'm commenting on item number 8, sir. Item number 9 is comment from members, right? I'm not a member of the committee,
Oh.
so I don't.
No, well, I mean,
I'm a member of the
comment on
board,
comments.
and that's what- okay.
I said the 8 and 9 kind of merged,
Well,
so.
fine, but I wanted to
let's,
just address the question about whether or not we should have a little church meeting, as Mr. Adams
Oh,
was
sure, okay,
suggesting.
you have 2
That-
minutes,
You guys
sir?
raised through that, I was holding my hand up the whole time,
Well,
but nobody, you
we
were.
had to
Look, I'm
speak
glad
about
you got
it.
a good feeling going and you've got a plan, let's move forward,
Cool.
right? So my comment is, I do not think this is about bringing our love to little communities. Bylaws affect the members of the board and those who elected them generally. And the assumption that everybody is naive and stupid about bylaws is a complete fallacy and a misstatement. In fact, everybody who participated in this election was frustrated beyond belief at the election process, and it came right out of the woodwork and said so. So the idea that we can't touch the big Megillah of changing the board seat assignations is flatly absurd and is a disingenuous, almost prevarication. Everybody, if you put it on an agenda for a special meeting in front of the board with Lisa Sark and all this, will come right out of the woodwork and weigh in, and that's what community engagement's about. But we're not doing that because we're doing something else. And I support what you want to do, which is to look at the various articles one by one and send to you a sense of the priority. I do not think that this is about typographical errors. My feeling about changing the bylaws, I don't think that there's really more than the decent obligation. I appreciate the desire to clean it up a little bit, but that's not what this is really about. What a bylaw meeting should be about is bringing issues forward. And Jeff, you can make hand signals as much as you want. You served on this board for many, many years. The bylaws,
Don't
you are.
call me out by
I'm not calling
name,
you out.
Eric. Just say what you're going to say and get it over with, all right, please?
I disagree. And if you're going to be waving your hands
Just-
at the
just
chair
say
during
what
a
you're gonna
meeting
say.
and facilitating
Just
not
say what
having
you're
a
gonna
card be
say.
set in,
Well,
I've said
look,
it.
are
This
you
is
done?
bullshit.
That's it. Are
Good.
you
And let me
done?
say something else. One other
No,
thing.
no.
I want to
That's
say
it.
one thing.
He's out of order.
I'm not
You
out
are
of
out of
order. Okay.
order.
Well, there's one
I
member of the
object to
board,
this
except for me.
Yeah.
You 3 of you are not on the board. And there's
Yeah.
one other board member here who has the 3 of you silencing me throughout this meeting. It's over. And I will participate the way I can through the rules, and that's it. And I will take to the board itself the idea that you will single-handedly, with this group, who are not board members, decide how the bylaws of the Studio City Neighborhood Council work. It's not fair. We got elected on reasonable things. I'm not talking about.
You
can change them.
Joel,
I second
Joel,
adjourn.